Today I am playing Minecraft on one chunk. The first time I tried this, it didn't end that well. Time I was in the air, damn, I really hope I can clutch this. So I am back today for redemption. One more chance. With, of course, the only goal being to beat the Ender Dragon. So before I start anything, I need tools. So I started with getting wood first, and then crafting some planks, and then a crafting table. So I made a pickaxe and started getting more wood for more resources, and then I finally started digging down to see what was in the caves, and it was definitely a process, but when I got down there, I did figure out that there was really nothing good. So that was really unfortunate, but that won't stop my progress because I started getting some cobblestone, made some stone tools, I got some flint for later. So then I just made my way further and further down to see what was like here, and I found another cave with nothing too good. I did find some iron, so then I ended up crafting some tools and then finding more iron. And alongside finding iron, I also found one of those like abandoned rooms and was surprised by a silverfish, and then I got a little skeptical because of that blue stuff, but then I found more iron and everything was okay. And so I made an iron sword and armor because, I feel like that's pretty important. And I also happened to come across the stronghold, and so I made a bucket because I needed water, and I went on a search for water, and I didn't find any. Although on my desperate search for water, I did find a random block of iron. Didn't even know that was in the game. Still don't know if that's in the game, so then I went back up. I smelted more of my iron and made a cauldron. And then I waited a very, very long time for my water, and I finally got it, and so I destroyed all my stuff. I went down to the stronghold and I went to go make the portal, and these silverfish just started spawning, and I was like, oh my god, man. And I'm all running around and trying to get away from these silverfish or trying to kill them, and more of them just keep spawning like one after another. I try to build up, they hit me off. Like, this whole game of Pin the fucking Donkey went on for a solid 10 minutes until eventually I built up in the corner, and that was the only way that I could actually get them. There were so many of them, and so I swing and more appear. I don't know how I'm killing some and more are appearing, but it's happening. And I swear at some point they started falling from the goddamn roof, and where are they coming from? They just multiplied in the last 5 seconds, and then I did die, and then I was just back down here trying to kill them again. Now eventually I finally did kill all of them and started on my portal, which was pretty successful. So, at least that was so okay. I finished that up, and the spawn point in the nether kind of sucked, but don't fear. So after scouting out my surroundings, I picked a direction and went, and ended up being in this battle with this pig and guy. On my way across this little lava stream, I had enough confidence to where I thought I could jump. Turns out I couldn't. But all the hardship was worth it, because as I was, scouting out the place, I did almost jump right into this hole. But I found the fortress. And so once I very carefully made my way over there, I decided to start looting some of the chests in there. And I did find some pretty, decent things. It wasn't too bad. I got some diamonds and stuff like that. Iron, all the cool good stuff. So I did make a diamond sword because I feel like that'd be very useful. And then I just continued finding obsidian, some gold, and then I did come across my first battle. It was pretty successful, I'd say. I hit again, and I killed it. And I got another one, I hit it, and I killed it again. Found a third one, absolutely no match for me, because you know what I did? I hit it, I hit it again, and then I killed it again. And then I decided to venture around a little bit, and they weren't very happy to see me in the fortress, and so I ran away, as I do. And so this was a very tedious process, and you're probably thinking, why didn't you just charge in there? And it's because I'm a bitch. I'm a little bitch, man. I get scared, okay? We all fear things. Do you see the way this guy is looking at me? The absolute hunger in its eyes. And the enemies were really starting to build up here, because there were a lot more of them than I saw when I looked the first time. And so eventually, when I got close enough, I decided to pull my pants up and charge right in there. I got one of them. I hid behind a little bit, and then I charged in, I got a second one. I was just hitting boom, 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 and then all of a sudden, they were gone. So then I just continued my search for the spawners, so that way I could actually get enrons. And I wasn't expecting the entire community to be on top of this roof, but I figured I was tired of the disrespect from these blaze, and so I charged right in there, but that didn't stop me, because I made my way right back up, and I kind of hit a little bit, but you know, that's because they were in the air and I wasn't. You know, with being such a great warrior comes some sacrifices, and so, you know, I'm just, you know, putting my life on the line here. That way, you know, I can, and, you know, it was getting fairly intense, but one after another, blazes just started dropping, you know. I came across this guy for a second. He didn't like me, so I had to kill him off really quick, but then I went right back to these blazes. I got the last of them, and yet I was only at 4, and I still have not found the goddamn spawner. And then eventually I did end up running right back through the fortress, you know, came across this lovely feller, you know, fought him off a little bit, almost died. Luckily I didn't, and then I did finally find the goddamn blaze spawner, and I just started, like, trying to block it in, you know, killing these blaze at the same time as I do, because I'm just that cool. And then once I was finally able to block in the blaze spawner, I finally started making a little more progress, and I was just killing these blaze left and right. And so eventually I finally had enough to move on, and so I started trying to trade with the piglins, you know, and then I found a bastion. Then I started very carefully make my way down, and I did in fact forget these piglins are very biased to those who aren't wearing gold. So I ran because they were just coming after me real quick, and it got to the point where they were just tossing around like a tennis ball, man, and you know, I didn't like that very much. So eventually I finally was able to like block myself in, and I started killing like all the piglin. Or so what I thought was all the piglin. And so after a few more hits, I thought I was safe until I, you know, broke this block and they just came charging in at me. But you can't keep me down because I made my way right back. But you know, thank God I am so good at this game because, you know, I really ran. You know, I was placing blocks, you know, dodging, weaving, you know, I fell, yeah, I don't know. But unfortunately that wasn't enough. So I did decide to take the easier route and just kill the Endermen themselves instead of trying to trade the piglins, and it was actually kind of working, but it wasn't working fast enough, so I went back to the bastion. And I actually found some pretty good things in the chest, which honestly, go me. And I did find that bastard that killed me, and I will not put up a bad fight, so I went at this thing again. He killed me again, but I, you know, charged right back and got him. And then I just went back to killing Endermen to, you know, get more pearls the easier way, and then I got bored of that again. So I decided to craft some gold, and I had my eyes on that pearly gold block right down there. And so I made my way down, and I couldn't find it, but then I found some more Endermen to harass, and I started killing them again. But unfortunately, they were really fast, so I kept missing. And after a lot of trial and error with these Endermen, I finally killed them, and then I threw all my gold at the piglin. That way I could actually try and get some pearls from them instead. And then the Endermen weren't done beefing yet, so I had to finish that guy off. And then the piglin finally dropped pearls exactly like I wanted it to, so I made my way back and I crafted all my eyes, I lit the portal, and I walked right in. So obviously I first started making my way out, and then I needed some pearls because I did not have something projectile, and so I just started killing a whole bunch of Endermen, you know, just, you know, rallying up the entire party here. And then I ran around and I did it again, you know, just whack, whack, whack. So finally I started making my way up all the towers and, you know, just getting the stars one after another, using my pearls to get, you know, from one tower to another, trying to be as strategic as possible here. But if we're being like really realistic here, I'm kind of dumb sometimes, and I don't know too much about like Minecraft in the end, so I did die quite a few times in this process, and I'm not really entirely sure why I thought flint and steel would help, but it kind of looked like it did help, so I just decided to use it because, you know, why not, honestly. So, you know, because what works, and so I just went from tower to tower. You know, it was actually going pretty smooth, I can't even lie. And so I did get a few more of the end crystals, and then I went back down to get more pearls because I needed them. So, you know, whack, 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 you know, just like harassing everybody here. You know, there's a lot of Endermen here, and I continued getting the crystals, you know, that way I could, you know, progress a little bit now that I had more ender pearls. You know, I was having a little trouble with my water here, but no dilemma will stop me, so I, well, you know, pearl, and then, you know, I, you know, built up a little wall, and bam, you know, got the end crystals more, and, you know, pearl, bam, you know, pearl, bam, I mean, I did die, but that doesn't matter. So then after I got all the end crystals, finally I went to harass more endermen for more pearls, had quite the crowd behind me. So then after finally killing all the endermen, I charged right back into battle. And I already knew this was going to be quite the challenge because I didn't have anything that I could throw at the ender dragon, but that is not a problem to me, honestly. So after the dragon finally perched on half a heart, I ran in there, I hit, bam, bam, and then I died, but that doesn't matter. I ran right back into the center and I got some pretty good hits, and then it flung me up and I clutched it. And so after that I figured I could do anything, and so I went right back into battle, got some pretty good hits in, bam, bam, psh, psh. And then the dragon still killed me though, so that's unfortunate, but can't keep me down. And honestly, this dragon is absolutely relentless because I ran in again and I got flung up again. But I was not giving up today. And then after about 10 minutes, I was finally able to get the dragon back down to half health, and I just kept going and hitting and swinging, and it was working. It was going so great until all I could do is wait for this dragon to perch. But despite some of these setbacks, I still did not give up. I kept hitting and swinging at this dragon, and it kept killing me. But you know what? I didn't care. And after all this time, with one heart left, after all of that, I finally was able to get enough hits on the dragon to where I finally killed it.